long would he be down for?
Months. Like when he was down, when he was low, he was low, and he was a very intense dude. So when he was up, he was up.
Right.
And it was peaks and valleys, and
Dude, you and I know intensity, right?
Right, but
right. So you got to be susceptible to this a bit
1,000%,
too, right?
1,000%. I work very hard on my mental health. I in a lot of regards, I think I've figured out my balance in life.
Yep.
That's including my relationships, my parenting, my intake, whether it be alcohol, whether it be weed, whether how I work, like the fights, the conflicts I put myself in, because I'm a sensitive personality. Mm-hmm. I'm susceptible to the highs and lows. And don't get me wrong, there's been lows, but I think on the other side, I've also surrounded myself with a very strong group of people.
I would say
work
that's true.
and home. So it's you lean on people. I think the thing you got to be very careful about with mental health, and if you talk about depression, is trying to go at it on your own.
Yes, 100%
right?
true.
I think if I'm going to be bold enough to say it, I think two main problems we have: we'll throw medicine or we'll throw drugs at it pretty quickly.
That's 100% true. Of course it is.
And because it's mental health is related to, if you ask many different thought leaders about this, it's related to a lot of aspects of your life: stress, emotions, communication, relationships, decisions, money, right? Genetics is absolutely part of it. Mm-hmm. I know I am genetically inclined to cancer, right? My father passed away from it. His brothers had cancer twice. His father passed. Like, I was part of a genetic study. Like, we know that, like, I'm pre-cancer, right? So you get screened and you manage it that way. That's the genetic side of things. Mm-hmm. And that also applies to your mental, sort of, call it stability,
that's an interesting concept.
Heredity, or you
said it
earlier.
Interesting concept. How do you do mental screening? I mean, now that's a Pandora's box, right? But if there was some rigor put to the same type of mentality around preventative medicine, which mm-hmm. In the end costs us a hell of a lot less, right? Then that would be pretty cool for mental health.
Look, the biggest
right?
preventative medicine is like how we raise our kids. Like,
yes.
It all starts there.
Very true.
We were talking about this earlier. Our parents have never had a fucking framework for how we were raised. Mm-hmm. I have the typical crazy fucking 80s kids, I'm sure you do as well, story. We used to get hit by fucking friends' parents, mm-hmm. right? It was, emotions, mental well-being was very different. Their parents before them.
Always.
It's been really, really fucked up. We're only now starting to scratch the surface. And I still don't think we're getting it all that right when it comes down to parenting, mm-hmm. which is the ultimate preventative, is how do we build these healthy, physically and mentally and emotionally, kids who are resilient, who are confident, who are able to make decisions, who are able to balance with emotions. So, right? We made a joke about snowplow parenting.
That really is the question, right? I mean, if we're going to get right to the core of it, I still remember the moment in my life where I just finally got this belief and was able to pull it out of my hands and actually put it into words. And we were riding bikes, and I was with, I think there was two of my hockey friends, 13 years old. And I remember exactly where we were on the path. And I remember thinking, I know what the meaning of life is. It's to have children.
I didn't.
Isn't that?
I wasn't going to have kids.
Yeah. Isn't that, I mean, if you're like literally, isn't that kind of the meaning of life?
Yeah. To procreate.
To procreate, to perpetuate life.
That's it. You want to spread your seed. You're just a pervert. That's why you want to have kids.
Well, there's that too. I mean, we're men.
So, no, but all jokes aside, absolutely. You do. I didn't look at it that romantically, nor did I look at having kids as something that I was even capable of doing. I'm thrilled I had kids. My children are fucking beautiful, and I just pray to God I don't fuck them up too much. But it's this conversation that I try to think about a lot when it comes down to my own kids, which is, I see to my son, and I'm still too hard on him, but like if I mismanage that too much, he
shuts down.
He shuts down, and that's gonna affect him later. And my daughter as well. As tough as I think she is, there's a balance there too. So, look, I think circling around to this, mental health is is a topic that is widely covered, and there's a lot of research and thought in it, and I think we're just two guys talking about it. But if there's one thing to sort of take away from this, I'd say that, like, you know, you mentioned preventative medicine. I think it's the best preventative medicine is raising these kids so they're not mentally fucked up later.
I think you're bang on.
Right?
I really do.
Otherwise they turn into me and you. Right?
Yeah, we don't want that.
No, which you know, in some regards, you know, it works out. And this diagnosis of ADD and this and stuff like that, I also think it's a very misunderstood as well.
I do too.
You know?
I felt, you know, I felt a little off when I had got that, because I was like, this has been right in front of everybody's face for years.
Every creative genius I
Crazy.
know, whether you use the thing like, you know, ordinary people that are doing extraordinary things. I know you want to, like, you know, do that thing, but like, they're all ADD. All the creatives we worked with were
100%.
ADD. Right? He's ADD.
But it's the truth, though. I mean, that's where all the craziness comes in. That's where all the interesting stuff comes in, right? It's not the monotone that is anywhere near interesting or intriguing. It's always the intensity, and that comes from a bit of crazy, to be honest. Perfect.
Narcissism.
Okay.
You just
the role of
said
narcissism in success.
Okay. Are you asking me or am I asking you?
You ask whatever you want to ask.
Okay, so I'll ask you because technically you're the guest.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what do you think about?
Okay.
So, all right. First, we just had a very deep conversation. I feel much closer to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
But you just brought up success needs narcissism, or the correlation between the right amount of narcissism for success. So go with that thought. Tell me what you're thinking.
Okay. I'm going to paint a picture here. I think the metaphor, the right one, is this. You know, when you're having a round of golf, and you know you're going to have a few beers, right? And you know that when you're going to go out for that round, you know, your first hole might be, whatever, okay. Your second hole, whatever. Oh, but the cart girl comes around on the second hole, right? And you order a beer, and you have maybe 3 or 4 beers.
Cart person, by the way.
Cart person, sorry. Yes, cart person. We need to be correct, okay? So now you got 3, 4 beers in you, and all of a sudden your golf game has gotten very, very good, right?
Okay.
You know, you've taken away some of the thinking and the overthinking and the
inhibitions,
you know, all that, you know, and you're loose, and, you know, your swing's good and all the rest of it, right? Okay. You know?
Okay.
And then you have like your 5th drink, and all of a sudden you're shit-faced. You can't do anything right. It just falls off a cliff. And it happens very quickly because the peak is a very, very fine edge.
Yeah.
I think a certain level of narcissism is not only, you know, advisable, but necessary for people to get to a certain level in their life. Okay. And I think that, you know, it's a very, very fine edge with which, you know, somebody has enough narcissism to push them on and to keep them with, you know, grandiose visions and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it takes to be really 1,000%. Exceptional in this world. Right? And too much where people see it and it's too visible and it sends you off the fucking cliff and you're nobody.
That's your golf analogy.
That's
There's
the
the link. So, like, you know, so what you just said was like, hey, everyone needs to have the right level of narcissism in order to be successful, which I agree with.
Fucked. Which is weird.
It's
or
not
maybe
fucked.
even it's just perceived.
It's not perceived.
Narcissism.
It's not fucked. It's actually, it's based in psychology that if you look at all personalities, we demonstrate all of those personality disorders.
Yeah.
Narcissism, passive-aggressive, impulsive, obsessive, dependent. And where it becomes a disorder is obviously where one of those becomes too much, becomes unbalanced or out of balance.
Where it's the whack-a-mole, you just can't bat down.
Right. But by having the right balance of each, you know when to be narcissistic.
Right.
You know when to be dependent.
Yep.
You know when to be obsessive. Or you use obsessive traits in certain tasks and functions.
Isn't that the craft?
That is the craft.
That's the art of it,
That
isn't
is
it?
the art of it, right? So, you know, the joke is like, yeah, you're a little fucked up. I'm a little fucked up. But the more you get that fucked upness in balance, the more successful you're going to hit. Look, you and I both speak in front of rooms. You got to have a narcissistic
just to get there.
And not only that, to your point, if you are too narcissistic or you come across as a narcissist in front of a room, it's too much.
Right.
The room will fail you.
100%.
But if you don't have enough of that grit, that narcissism, those
That's exactly,
you know,
yeah.
that
Thank you. See,
like you ain't moving people, right?
Dude. Like, so fucking, I know, but you fucking get it though.
Yeah.
The thing is that you get it, and I don't know how many people do, because I see a lot of the extremes. I see a lot of the ones who fall off the cliff because they just became too fucking big for their own personalities, or the ones who never take a fucking risk. You deal with a lot of people
in finance,
you know,
right?
So, oh my God, they're everywhere.
If you look at those motherfuckers, like they are the pinnacle of narcissists, and they a lot of them, while they might achieve tremendous amount of success, not just within business but personal, one of those sides ends up failing them.
Yes.
They end up failing in business, or they end up failing in their personal lives, families, relationships, etc., because it becomes imbalanced. The trick to all of this is always adjusting that barometer, that dial. You know, you can never just turn that narcissism or that behavior up to a certain level and keep it there. As you grow through life, you're going to have to adjust that dial.
Yeah,
you
that's fair.
To say,
I think that's
hey,
fair.
I now need to dial this narcissism down, or hey, I need to dial it back up. And you know, I think by giving yourself the space to lean into it and be a little excessive in some of those behaviors, you're good. I was talking about this the other day. You know, what do you do with withdrawn personalities? Passive personalities. Passive personalities in the sense that these individuals or people have had permission to avoid and withdraw on certain things.
Right. And maybe we're even rewarded for doing so.
And we're rewarded because what most people do is they say things like, oh, shame, you know, take it easy, be nice, don't, oh, I don't want to say it, right? And you're doing that individual a great injustice, because what's going to build that resilience and that effectiveness or that personality in some capacity is the opposite.
100%.
Leaning into that and saying,
man.
hey, wait a minute, like, no, you don't get to fuck around and avoid and withdraw and take the high road in this, right?
Right.
Anyway, it's...
well, I think the withdrawn tend to be rather afraid of failure. So what ends up happening, right? Oh, I know it. But the withdrawn are almost like the extreme of that.
Mm-hmm.